Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Monday. It is the 5th of July, 2021. I hope you're all healthy and COVID free. I hope your households are healthy and COVID free. I hope you're all safe. I hope you had a good weekend. If you had a 3-day weekend, if you didn't, be careful. Happy Monday. Blessings to those that work in the healthcare field, even on 3-day weekends, because people still get shot, they still get stabbed, they still get in accidents, they still have heart attacks, even on 3-day weekends. And we need people there to help take care of them and help sometimes save their lives. Blessings to them. Blessings upon those that pick up garbage, of which there is a lot after a 3-day weekend. And those that make deliveries for us do that also, even on 3-day weekends. And so blessings upon them. Double blessings on those that are trying to deliver boys and girls, men and women, children from sex trade and sex slave and human trafficking operations, and those that are trying to deliver kids that are in their own households being molested. Blessings upon those that are trying to save these, and curses upon those that support this industry and inflict these perversions. Finally, blessings upon those that are trying to help the homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, children, and families in the United States that are sleeping on the street today, and more to come. Millions around the world with no roof over their head. Blessings upon those that are trying to help, and blessings upon those poor ones, for theirs is the kingdom. So today we're talking about, I want to get out the way. We talked about Norman Powell as the possible free agent acquisition for the Knicks. I want to talk about that. And I also want to talk about why none of it may matter. First of all, let's start with why none of it may matter. When Adrian Wojnarowski, as I mentioned in previous videos, said that the Knicks were going to be big game hunting, that they weren't satisfied with the current crop of unrestricted free agents and restricted free agents, that they were, the indication is that they would be looking to make a trade. Nobody knows what trade they're going to make. There are almost unlimited amount of possibilities. So that is the wild card, the joker, as it were. No pun intended to Nikola Djokovic. But that is the wild card, because we don't know. Everybody's only guessing. And one thing I like about this Knicks regime, nobody's talking. Nobody says anything. So everybody, newspaper people, television people, sports radio people, podcast people, are just guessing. Nobody knows what the Knicks are going to do. I love that about the new regime. Kudos to Leon Rose and Scott Perry and Walt Perrin and those crew for keeping their mouth shut, because nobody knows what they're going to do. So that kind of nullifies everything. It really does. So what we're doing is looking realistically that if the Knicks were going to obtain free agents, who would they obtain? In terms of the draft, we're looking realistically that if the Knicks were to keep their draft picks, who would they select? Okay, and the basis and the foundation of this is understanding as Knicks Nation what the Knicks actually need. And we all agree they need shooters from the wing spot and from the point guard spot. Okay, we need a shooter, somebody that's a threat to score and can play defense on both of those positions. Now, just to make sure we're understanding, we're all on the same page. We understand what a point guard is, right? Person that handles the ball, person that sets everybody up, person that calls out the plays, right? That's the point guard. Then, of course, the wing, and some people get this confused. A wing is a player that can play both the 2 spot, which is a shooting guard, and the 3 spot, which is a small forward. That's a wing. They're generally in the 6'6" to 6'9" category, in that height range, although that's not limited to that. And so because they can play both of those spots offensively and generally guard both of those spots defensively, that's why they're called wings. They're very important in the NBA, and you really don't win championships unless you have good wings. You don't do that. So, and the reason is because of the fact that they can play both of those positions. They can guard both of those positions, and the most talented ones can guard more than that. Like they can guard 1 through 4, the most talented wings. They can generally play the point if they want to. Case in point, you had Paul George running the point oftentimes for the Clippers once Kawhi Leonard went down. So he, and of course Paul George can guard multiple positions. That's a very high level example of a wing that's in the modern NBA that you need to win a championship. Okay, so that is what the Knicks need. They need some wings. Now, they need them both in the draft and if we can get them in free agency. So today we're talking about Norman Powell, who is 6'3". So he's more along the lines of a shooting guard, but we can consider him a wing because he can guard 1s, 2s, and 3s. And the reason he's able to do that is because he has a 7-foot wingspan and he's an excellent defender. This is not a person in Norman Powell that we have to project like we do a college player. See, with college players, we have to project because they're not playing against pros when they're in college. So we're projecting as to whether they can do X, Y, or Z in the NBA. That's all everybody's doing is projecting. Okay. But with a guy that's already in the league, you already know what he can do. You know what his limitations are. You know what he can, what he can't do, what he's good at, what he's not good at, especially a veteran that's been around. For example, we had on our wing this year, Reggie Bullock. And we know Reggie Bullock is never a threat to take anybody off the dribble. And I'm not trying to break on Reggie Bullock. I'm just saying this is what he is. He's a spot-up jump shooter. He can guard 1 through 3 defensively. He's a high-level defender, and that's what he is. If you want him to drive to the basket, you're asking for trouble because that's not what he does. Okay, so he's a spot-up jump shooter, which is why I always say he's best coming off the bench as a guy that you want to spot up for you coming off the bench and play good defense coming off the bench. The Knicks played him as a starter because we didn't have a lot of depth on the wing this past season, and we were still the 4th seed. Okay, so we're looking for a guy that can come in as a starter and play that role. All right, so generally speaking, and of course, if they can spot up, hit the 3-point on a good, basically the litmus test for a good 3-point shooter, in my view, is 40%. If somebody is hitting around 40% of their 3-pointers, they're a good 3-point shooter in the NBA. Okay. And that's Reggie Bullock. So if you get a good 3-point shooter that can play the 3 spot, you generally consider him a 3-and-D wing because he can play defense. He can spot up, hit the 3-point shot. And so that's what you call 3. He can hit the 3 and D. He plays defense, right? So we're talking about that going forward. And regarding that, we're talking about for a second, Frank Ntilikina, my favorite Knick. He came into the league as a point guard, but we have seen for whatever reason, either he can't play, wouldn't get a chance to play, whatever the reason. He hasn't played point guard a lot in his 4 years, but he has improved his jump shot, especially his spot-up jump shot, and he already plays a high level of defense. So right now, to me, if they're going to keep Frank Ntilikina, it would be as a 3-and-D wing. Okay, because he can guard 1 through 4. He's not aggressive offensively, obviously, but he's improved from his rookie year to now, this past season, and the end of the season before, he was shooting over 40% in the NBA from 3-point line. Okay, and so he's vastly improved. That's making him a 3-and-D wing. Now, we don't consider starting Frank Ntilikina because no coach has done that, right? So I would love that, but it's not going to happen. So we're going to need to get a wing, and that's why we're talking about, again, Norman Powell. He can guard 1 through 3. He can hit 40% of his threes. He is a very good defensive player. But the difference between him and Reggie Bullock is Norman Powell really can get to the hole. He's a very good finisher at the basket. Again, because of his athletic ability and his 7-foot wingspan that allows him to do that. Not only that, Norman Powell, one of the things you want is you want a guy, and let me just say why I want this. I want a guy that has playoff and championship experience. Why? Because once a player plays at a high level in the NBA playoffs, they could play. Because as we have just seen, the playoffs is a different animal than the regular season. It's completely different. The intensity level is multiplied higher. Okay? Multiplied higher. And a possession can decide a game, and one game can decide a series, right? So you really, want playoff tested performers if you can get them, right? And your young players, you want to develop that. Now, as New York Knicks, we were in our first year of the rebuild under Tom Thibodeau, and we were the 4th seed in the East. I would consider it success if we at least become the 6th seed this coming year. with the idea of trying to make the Eastern Conference Finals. That would be a success. So in other words, what does that look like? That means whatever we do in the first round, we win. We win the first round and we get to the second round and we try to push to beat that team in the second round so that we can get to the Eastern Conference Finals. That would be, if they lost in the second round this coming season, that would be progress because we just got into the first round this past year and lost. So if we won in the first round this coming season and we lost in the second round, that's progress. So that's what we're looking to do. We want to push to that next level. Okay. If we go further, that'd be great, but we don't want to go backwards, right? We're not looking at the 8th seed this year. Okay. We're trying to get the 6th seed and move from there. 4th would be great. Trying to get into that next level, that next echelon, that next iteration, that next evolution of Knicks long-term sustainable winning. Okay. So that being the case, Norman Powell is a guy that can play the wing that would be much better than Reggie Bullock, having been playoff tested, having actually experienced a championship and played a major role in that championship for the Toronto Raptors. Okay, now complications involving Norman Powell. Everyone knows Ben Simmons did not have a great playoff. I feel Ben Simmons is still an all-NBA player, a franchise player. But there's a lot of fans, especially in Philadelphia, that don't feel that way anymore. And Ben Simmons might be traded. Now, what we got so far on the Ben Simmons front, and why I'm going to tell you in a second why this might affect Norman Powell in our acquisition of Norman Powell, is what we got is that the Philadelphia 76ers just rejected an offer of Malcolm Brogdon and the number 1 pick for Ben Simmons. They just rejected that. I can understand why they would reject that. Again, it's very serious when you say the best ability is availability. A lot of y'all keep suggesting we go after Malcolm Brogdon. You really need to look at how many games he misses every year. You really need to look at that. You would be very frustrated to sign Malcolm Brogdon or to trade for him at whatever $20 million he's making a year, and he's unavailable in the playoffs. You would be very frustrated. Or if we're making a run to try to get from the 6th seed to the 4th seed and he's not able to play. That's why I believe it was a smart move for Philly to say no to Malcolm Brogdon. He's not available when you need him to be available. He doesn't have that ability to be available when you need him to be. Okay? That's the problem. But I believe that there's 2 teams that have the best shot at Ben Simmons. First of all, let me tell you, I don't believe Philadelphia would trade Ben Simmons to an Eastern Conference team. Okay? Just like I don't believe Kyle Lowry will sign with a Western Conference team. Opposite. Why? Well, first of all, Philly don't want to face this cat, in the playoffs, having traded him to an Eastern Conference contender, which is probably where he'd go, that they got to maybe face in the playoffs. They want to put him on the other side. As far as Kyle Lowry, why would he go to, well, first of all, the Lakers can't afford him. Neither can the Clippers. Those are the 2 teams he would want to be a part of, the Lakers or the Clippers, because they're vying for a championship. And neither of them can afford him. Both of them over the cap. And in fact, in the Clippers case, way over the cap in luxury tax territory. So the only way they would get a Kyle Lowry is a sign and trade. That would you have to say, well, does Toronto want anything that the Lakers have aside from LeBron James and Anthony Davis for Kyle Lowry? Maybe Kyle Kuzma. I don't know. But that's unlikely. So the likelihood, and if you're Lowry, just as a side note, not only, he already stated, in fact, he was very plain. You don't have to guess about what he said. Just look at the press conference. Years and money count. So he's looking for money. He's looking for years. That means 2 or 3 years, probably $25 million per. Okay. So the only 2 teams in the East that have any shot at signing him is New York and Miami. Philadelphia would require a sign and trade. They can't do it. They don't have the money. They're way over the cap. They're in luxury tax territory, matter of fact. And they definitely would have to move Ben Simmons, which is not a given that they're going to do that. Okay. So that brings us back to Ben Simmons and Norman Powell. So now, I say the only 2 teams that really we're going to see Ben Simmons possibly go to, and that's possible because it may be Philly doesn't trade him at all. They're smart, they won't. But is Minnesota and Portland. Okay, why? Now Portland is also, a team that can't afford to outright sign anybody because they're over the cap. Let me pull up their stuff here. Portland is over the cap. Portland, matter of fact, they're over the cap and they are over the luxury tax as well. So they got Damian Lillard at $40 million, CJ McCollum at $31 million, and they got Robert Covington. They got Yusuf Nurkic, which he may not be back, because that's a non-guaranteed $12 million. They got Norman Powell, who may be leaving, and then they got a bunch of role players, other players. Okay, most important of their role players to me is Anthony Simmons, who's their future. Really good young guard, and he's going to come on. I think he's going to be eventually taking. He's going to be a starter, which he's going to play a role what we're talking about today. So now, there is no way. I'm going to tell you right up front. Portland is not trading Damian Lillard. They're not. Okay, so unless Dame says I'm out, which he has not said. Everybody trying to put those words in his mouth, and please distinguish between people like Brian Windhorst trying to put words in somebody's mouth, or Mark Berman, and what the player's actually saying. Dame has never said, I want to leave Portland. Matter of fact, he has said the opposite. I'd like to finish my career in Portland. Yeah, he was frustrated after that last exit in the playoffs. Yeah, he put some tweets out there, but that's how any player would do. That's how he do. But he's expressive like that. But I think he wants to finish his career in Portland, and I think Portland feels the same way. So that's why they went and got Chauncey Billups. Portland is now probably going all in on another level to try to make a finals. So now, but it would be very fair for CJ McCollum to go to Philly for Simmons. And why would I say that? Somebody might say CJ McCollum is a pro-level shooter. Right? You bring CJ McCollum and you put him in the Philadelphia lineup. You put him in that lineup and you get a healthy Danny Green coming off the bench. And that's one of the reasons I think Simmons looked so bad this year. They were missing Danny Green, who is another high-level pro shooter, and Tobias Harris is not. But you would have CJ McCollum with Seth Curry. You would have Danny Green, 3 pro-level shooters. You would still have Shake Milton. You would have a second year of Tyrese Maxey, and then you still got your Joel Embiid and your Tobias Harris. You still got that. So to me, that would be a more prepared team to go to a championship. You got shooters with Joel Embiid, who is, top 5 in the NBA as far as players, could do it all. As long as he's healthy, they could go places. Okay. And if they sign the same bench crew they had, they should be in good shape. Now, they might ask for something else, but I wouldn't give them anything else if I was Portland. That would be a straight up deal unless they wanted some future draft picks. But that would be CJ McCollum, because that would help Philly straight up. That would help Philly. Okay. McCollum is good enough. He might even be an all-star in the East. He couldn't break that in the West, but he might be an all-star in the East. So that would help Philly. As far as Portland, now you have a guy in Simmons that can guard the opposing team's 5. See, Simmons is big and strong and physical. He can guard any 5 in the West, anyone, or any big 4. He can guard them in the West. You bring him there, and he's your point guard at the same time. I know that sounds strange, but if you know Ben Simmons, that's not strange. He's your point guard. You got him surrounded by Anthony Simons, and you got him surrounded by, of course, Dame Dollar, who's one of the knockout shooters in the NBA, right? So you got that, and don't let them re-sign Norman Powell, because if they did such a move, it would be a priority to keep him, because now you're surrounding Simmons with the shooters he needs to be effective. You're playing to his strengths. You're not expecting him to be a jump shooter. You got jump shooters around him, especially Dame, and don't sleep on Anthony Simons. I think if they did something like this, you would see him have a breakout year. And then they'd be throwing big money at Norman Powell, because even though they're over the cap, they don't care because he's their player right now. They can re-sign him and stay over the cap. It don't matter. Okay. That would be the Knicks' biggest competition, I would think, for Norman Powell right now. Because the Knicks, and some of y'all, are so used to the Knicks being bad that you just got to remember something. Not only were the Knicks not bad this year, not only were they good, but we got the cards in our hand. We got the money. We got the draft picks. We're in the position of strength with anybody we deal with, whether that be free agent, restricted free agent, or whatever. We're in the position of strength right now. Okay. So don't ever, people keep referring these type of trades where the Knicks are getting screwed as if we needed to do that. Or people are going to choose other teams because it's the Knicks. That ain't the case no more. We ain't on crack no more. This is a new situation. We're number one team in the East in defense. Okay. So no, we got the position of strength. They got to come to the Dom and deal with us. Okay. So that's that deal. So with that being in mind, if they want Norman Powell, and again, with Woj's, statement, that may not matter because they could get anybody want, and there could be something out there we don't know nothing about. In fact, I'm going to tell you there's something out there we don't know nothing about because nobody really knows, but we're going to find out. So, but if they were going to get a Norman Powell, that would be the only hindrance to stopping us from getting a Norman Powell. That'd be the only hindrance. Because now, if we offered him even $20 million a year, Portland can overpay for him. Because I would, if I'm Portland, I want to make sure I keep him. Because now you got the shooter, you got a guy that can kick, that can get to the basket. You got Dame, and you got a point guard where Dame ain't got to worry about handling the rock. He can get the ball in positions he wants to get it. You still got Anthony Simons, right? Now they're going to want a 5. They're going to want to sign a 5. Because Nurkic just ain't getting it done. I mean, if I was them, you could go a couple of directions. You can get a stretch 5 like a Kelly Olynyk. You could, or you can get a rim protector like Nerlens Noel. You can do that. See, so I'm looking to see what they got. Let me see. They got Zach Collins, and he's pretty good, but he's very also injury prone. I'm looking to see if they got their mid-level exception. I don't see it. They may not have that. So I don't know what they're going to do there. They may be stuck. They may be stuck with Nurkic because unless they can do a sign and trade, which is always possible. They got some trade exception money. I don't see them having, they don't have the player. I don't think they have their mid-level exception. So they would have to do a sign and trade, exchanging Nurkic for somebody in order to be able to replace him. Otherwise, he's coming back for that $12 million. But I still like them, even with that, with Zach Collins and a Ben Simmons. And you put them shooters around Ben Simmons, that's it. That they're going to be very good if that's the case. So anyway, that's the only hindrance to us in Norman Powell. The other possibility I mentioned was Minnesota, because Minnesota can offer Philly D'Angelo Russell and my man Malik Beasley, for Ben Simmons. They could do that. And then you'd have Ben with Cat. You got, Anthony Edwards still, you still got something to build around. But, that's the situation, man. So so to me, it depends on what you're going to do with Ben Simmons. If they're going to keep Ben Simmons, then I think Norman Powell can come to the Knicks if they want him. And it really comes down to that. If we want Norman Powell, I believe we can get him because we got the money. Nobody else has that kind of money. Okay. There's other teams that got cap space now. Don't get me wrong. But they're Western Conference teams. And, if he's looking for a chip, his best shot is in the East. And as far as Eastern Conference teams, it's us in Miami. That's it. It's us in Miami. Now, Miami got $20 million in cap space, but let me tell you about the complications with Miami. So Miami got $20 million in cap space, but they got Duncan Robinson to deal with. See, that $20 million is including Duncan Robinson at $4.7 million. And it's including Kendrick Nunn at $4.7 million. Okay? It's including those. Those are both qualifying offers. Now, you and I both know both of those guys are going to get more money than that. Okay? I think Kendrick Nunn is somebody the Knicks might be looking at as a possible. We talked about Devontae Graham, right? Kendrick Nunn is like Devontae Graham. I think just a little different, but in terms of being a cheaper option, that's an offensive threat. Kendrick Nunn is that. The problem with Kendrick Nunn is that he lost some minutes this past season in the playoffs because of his lack of defense. Now, if you can't play defense at an adequate level for Eric Spoelstra, and I'm just saying Tom Thibodeau's the same defensive set mind. You may have some problems with Thibodeau as well. See? So I don't know about Nunn, but they got to make a decision with him. Somebody's going to get that boy some money though. And then of course, Duncan Robinson, it's already been out there. He's looking for $20 million a year possibly, and he could probably get that. High level shooters at 6'8" that can play defense. You talking about high level 3-and-D, and he's still in his 20s. He's going to get his money. So that $20 million that Miami has is talking about renouncing those two dudes. And they ain't doing that. They may do, I don't know. They ain't doing that. I'm telling you, they're going to sign Duncan. They're not letting go of Duncan. Now, they're going to renounce also Goran Dragic and Andre Iguodala, and that's not a big deal. They can get rid of Goran Dragic. He's, and I think both of them guys are on team options. One's 19 million, one's 15. I think that's the end of that. They're going to be gone. But I don't know, and some of y'all may have to let me know, but they can renounce them and then later on bring them back on minimum contracts, NBA vet minimums, because both of them done made their money, right? So you can bring them back on vet minimums later. But it's possible, for them to get Kyle if they wanted him really bad, but they'd have to do some maneuvering. Whereas with the Knicks, there's nothing to do but say, here's the contract, 2 years, $50 million. Here's the contract, 2 years, 55, whatever. Here's the contract, all guaranteed. Let's do it. That's all you got to do if you're the Knicks. Now, I believe Kyle Lowry is close to Jimmy Butler. I think they got her. I think Jimmy Butler's kid, I think Kyle Lowry's the godfather of one of his kids or something like that. And then, of course, we know that the Toronto Raptors paid this whole season in Florida this past year. Kyle Lowry sold his house in Toronto. And everybody was in Tampa this year. So it would be easier for him to maybe stay in Florida and go to Miami. Might be. So that's against us. But as far as money, it's only us in Miami. That's it. Now, he could go to Miami. Certainly could. But he have to think about it. I'm going to tell you that right now. He be having to think about it. Forget Philly. He's not going there. They don't have the money for him. They don't have the money. They got a big Ben Simmons problem. And if they keep Ben Simmons, you could really forget Kyle Lowry. That's not happening. Okay. So, but if Kyle Lowry was in New York, it's a very short trip, either by private jet, which guys like that could do, or limo, which guys like that could do. It's a very short trip to Philly if he wanted to see his family. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. So to me, Kyle Lowry's options are really New York and Miami. Forget the West. Okay. He's going to want the money. He can get the money here. He's going to get his easier trip to the finals in the East than it is to the West. Okay. Unless you playing with LeBron or you playing with the Clippers, and he ain't going to be playing with them. As I said, that ain't going to happen either. So there's that. Draft. Let's talk about draft for a second. I don't understand why people like to mock 4s and 5s to the Knicks. We understand, I think, that we need point guards and wings, right? Why would we waste time with an Isaiah Jackson or even a Kai Jones? We do have Mitchell Robinson. And if we wanted to re-sign Nerlens Noel, we could. And none of those guys are ready to play like the two guys we already have. So and then Mitchell Robinson being 23, I don't understand why anybody would think we needed to draft anybody that's a 4 and a 5. I don't understand that. It makes no sense to me. I'm not with the Sharif Cooper picks, but even that makes more sense than looking at, I've seen mocks with Isaiah Jackson and Kai Jones. I'm like, what are these guys thinking about? Or even the kid from Western Kentucky, I forgot his name. He's got potential, but we don't need any of that. We need wings. And let me tell you, in case you hadn't seen, this is a draft that's filled with guards and wings. So why would you even waste time looking at anything else? So they're talking about, you got your Moody's, you got your Boat Knights, right? If you want to move up, you got your Jared Butlers, your Trey Mans, your Ayo DeSumus. I can keep going and going. You got the midget. You guys like the midget, Sharif Cooper. Okay, we got him too. But we got so many options. And then on the wing, you got your Chris Duartes and you got your Trey Murphys. Why would you mess with Isaiah Jackson from Kentucky? I'm not saying he's a bad player, but we don't need that. We need wings and point guards. And we need them for the future. For the future. Okay? Because we got our center of the future in Mitchell Robinson. Even Nerlens Noel, I think, is 28. If we wanted to re-sign him, we got him too. So what are we talking about? I don't understand why anybody would mock. To me, when I see people mock these type of players to the Knicks, I can tell they don't pay attention to the Knicks. They really obviously are just trying to throw whatever they think is the best player available at that spot to the Knicks. I seen somebody talking about Kevin Knox and the number 22 pick and the number 24 pick. I seen that somewhere. And you know why that's silly? First of all, they were offering the two firsts and Kevin Knox for Scary Terry. Now, I like Scary Terry, but you and I know 2 firsts? What? Now and even more sillier, the Knicks don't have the 22nd and 24th pick. They got the 19th and 21st. You see what I'm saying? People put stuff down. I don't know. Maybe they just put stuff down, like I say, throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. Anyway, I don't know if the Knicks are going to trade their picks. I hope they keep 2 of the 4 picks, especially 2 of 19, 21, and 32. Unless this disgruntled star we don't know about, is coming past, So like if we're getting a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, for example. Oh yeah. Fine. Take 2 for Shai Gilgeous. Okay? But not for Scary Terry. Come on, man. I mean, I like Scary Terry, but he ain't 2 first round picks. No. I would give him 1. Give him 1 first round pick. Give Charlotte 1 first rounder. And maybe Kevin Knox, but definitely not 2. We're not giving away the store for Scary Terry. What's wrong with some of the people, man? I don't know. But anyway, between trying to hype 4s and 5s that we don't need, when we need wings. Okay? So anyway, I don't know what they're going to do, but we need wings and guards. And there's a lot of them in this draft. Boat Knight, like I said, Moses Moody, even if you like Corey Crisper, you got, there's a lot of guys out here. And then you got all of them guards I mentioned. But I like Trey Murphy and Chris Duarte for the Knicks the best because they'll be in that area of the draft. We don't need to trade up to get them. We can get one of those 2 guys, and that guy will be ready for the rotation. If it's Chris Duarte, he's ready this year. If it's Murphy, he's going to be ready in a year. Okay? I like those 2 guys. And then, of course, we all have our favorite guards. Okay? Like, I like Jared Butler. I mean, I heard about the heart situation, but I'm hoping that he's okay and that we can get him. I like Jared Butler a lot. So we could get him or Trey Mann or, like I said, I ain't going to cry if they draft a midget. I ain't going to cry if they draft him. But to me, there's just better guards out there. Ayo DeSumo, I like him, 6'5", plays both ends. That's what I'm talking about. Give me somebody like that, man. Or even the kid, Jaden Springer, young boy. He's 18. He's not even going to be 19 until the fall. So he's really young. That's future. You draft a kid like that, 200, 205, 210 pounds, 6'4". Yeah, you want something like that, man. Somebody that could be physical, that could play both ends of the floor and hit you open trade. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about, okay? So there's a lot of options, but there's things we don't need. 4s and 5s, we don't need, okay? I wish they would stop mocking us. It's just frustrating to see it. But Norman Powell is a guy we need to sign. Now, if we don't sign him, there's still Kelly Oubre. And I know some of you don't like Kelly, but I think you put Kelly Oubre in Madison Square Garden, and I think this boy is going to turn it out. I'm trying to tell you, he's that type of guy. He got that New York mentality. I don't know where the boy is from. I think he went to school in Kansas. Yeah, Kelly Oubre went to school at Kansas, but he's not from Kansas. Where's Kelly Oubre from? But I'm telling you what, you put Kelly Oubre in Madison Square Garden, and you, to me, you're going to get what you saw with Latrell Sprewell, you're going to get with Kelly Oubre. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You saw Latrell Sprewell, you're going to see Kelly Oubre because That kid, trying to tell y'all, man. Some of y'all ain't buying it because you saw him. He didn't shoot so well with Golden State this year. He did shoot well with Phoenix, the year before. I think that's more like the guy we're going to get, but I think it's going to be even more. You understand? Players get hyped. Some players are scared. And that's true. Some players are scared of Madison Square Garden and the New York media and all of that. And y'all rabid New York Knicks Nation fans. Some people are scared of that. And that's not just with the Knicks. That's with the Mets, the Yankees, the Giants, the Jets. Some people are scared to come into this market for good reason. But then there are other guys where when they come in there, it's going to cause them to go to a new level. They're going to ball, Kelly Oubre is one of them cats. So I'd like us to get Norman Powell. That's my first choice. But I will have no problem with Kelly Oubre at all. None. Okay. So anyway, tell me what y'all think. So Norman Powell, the only complication is the Ben Simmons situation, which I think is 50-50. They don't do anything. And they keep Ben Simmons and they keep going with him. And if they try to trade him, it'll be another year. But if they end up in the finals next year, even that's off, right? They just need some shooters around home. That's what they really need, right? But if they trade him, you're looking at Portland and Minnesota. That's what you're looking at to me. You're not looking at any Eastern Conference team with Ben Simmons, okay? And then as far as Kyle Lowry, you're looking at an Eastern Conference team with money. That's only New York and Miami. Forget Charlotte. Forget everybody else. It's New York and Miami, okay? And if we want him, we have a very strong chance of getting him. And this guy's got real ties to Miami. Like I said, with Jimmy Butler being down there and then having played in Miami this past season, he's got ties down there. South Beach is nice in January, but let's see what happens. We got the loot and money and years count. So anyway, this is what I'm saying to y'all. The New York Knicks, really, listen to me now. They're in the best financial and draft and team organization position of anybody in the NBA right now. They really are. I know y'all don't want to believe that because you're hating on your own team and you're used to them stinking. That ain't the case right now. The Don has put us in a nice spot. And so we got the strength right now. And I really know they're going to use it properly. I'm very confident. Leon Rose, Scott Perry, Walt Perrin and them, they're going to do the right thing. I'm very confident in that. And they're going to have to keep old Tom Thibodeau in check. Because Tom will play all veterans and don't play no youth and want to win every game, every minute right now with his vets. But they're going to have to work with him a little bit. But we in good shape, y'all. We in good shape. So I'm saying Norman Powell, but I'm also telling y'all it may not matter. Depending on who this secret disgruntled star is, it may not matter. Okay? But if it does matter, I'm saying Norman Powell and probably Kyle Lowry is what you're talking about. Some people didn't like the idea of DeMar DeRozan. I totally get it. DeMar DeRozan is a scorer, but he's very inefficient in the sense that his teams don't do better necessarily with him on the floor all the time, which is why Toronto had all those, those losses the years that him and Kyle was playing together. But if you put Kyle with Norman Powell and you have, Randall and Mitch and RJ, and RJ been playing his butt off this, with Team Canada. Y'all know that, right? Oh, by the way, congratulations to the Bucks and the Suns. Making NBA Finals. Big time, big time. I'm really pulling for Chris Paul. I want CP3 to get that ring. That's just me. I mean, I'd like to see him do it. He's been coming up short so many years. And then the virtuoso performance he did, to put the Clippers away with the 41 points. Oh my gosh, man. That was vintage right there. So I'd like to see him get his ring. Giannis is young. He can come back, I'd like to see Chris Paul get his ring, man. So anyway, please be safe out there. If you're off, please be cool. Please have a good time with your fam. Whatever you're doing out there, be safe. And we'll talk to you again soon. Shalom.